There are two things about your body that most women were never taught. In fact, probably not many people were taught. And without them, you can do everything that should work and still feel like your body is the one thing in your life that literally makes no sense. And it can be a bit of a roller coaster ride, can't it? You can eat the same meal you ate last week, keep the same routine, you take the same supplements, and still end up with a completely different body response. So let's get into what those two things are. Welcome to the Decode Your Body podcast. I'm your host, Tasha Miller. Your body shouldn't be the wild card in your life. If you're done guessing, Googling, and outsourcing every decision about your body, you're in the right place. Here, we look at symptoms through body type and pattern recognition so you can start making sense of what your body is actually telling you. This is body literacy, not symptom fixing or another protocol. Let's get into it. We've all tried the thing everyone is talking about. And it sounds smart, sounds healthy, and it sure sounds like something that should work. So you do it. And instead of feeling better, your body actually goes into the other direction. Or maybe it's not even that noticeable. Maybe it's standing in your kitchen at 5 o'clock, looking at supper and wondering if this meal is going to make you feel bloated tomorrow. Because tomorrow you have your son's grad and there are going to be people there that you haven't seen in a while. And the last thing that you want is to look 10 pounds heavier because of bloating. So maybe it's just easier not to eat, or best to just drink some soup broth. And chances are there's at least one day in the week where you really need to be thinking properly. Like right now it's tax season, and I know I can't afford to mess up the numbers in my accounting software, but there are those days when your brain just won't cooperate. And even though you should be knee deep in numbers, maybe you're not like me, but you're thinking about those butternut squash seeds you should be getting started instead. So here's what nobody probably ever taught you. There are two things you need if you want to understand your body. Number one, you need to know your body type. And number two, you need to know what pattern of imbalance your body is in right now. That's it. Because one tells you your baseline and the other tells you what's happening in the current season that you're in. And without both, you're going to be left trying to make sense of symptoms with only half of the information. That's why something can work really awesome for one woman and be an absolute fail for another. And it's also why something that used to work for you, maybe last year or 5 years ago, can suddenly stop working because our bodies aren't static like robots, are they? They change. And once you understand that, you start to see how much of your week has been getting consumed by something you couldn't understand. Because every week, I'm sure you notice something, whether it's bloating, constipation, diarrhea, acid reflux, eczema, sinus congestion, getting up to pee in the middle of the night, like feeling like you're not getting enough sleep, not feeling hungry, craving sugar or salty chips, or even overeating. Like those symptoms, they could be endless. You have the same life, you have the same basic routines, and after a while, this stops being just about one symptom. It starts becoming background noise in your whole life. We lived in a lake community once for about 7 years, and our neighbor behind us would open his garage door, pull out, those great big 1980s speakers, and point them towards the back of our house and blast rock music from morning until the middle of the night. Now, don't get me wrong, he was a super nice guy, but it was this constant noise that you could never get away from. And honestly, it agitated me so much. Some days it made me angry. It felt like Chinese torture to me. And when it comes to your body, all those symptoms running in the background are kind of like that music. It's the extra mental energy. It's the second guessing. It's how much thinking your body starts to take up in your head when honestly, you've got other things to think about. And that's the part that you really get tired of, not just feeling like it's one of those days, but having to keep managing around something that feels like it's out of your control. So now you're not just eating lunch with your girlfriends, you're trying to predict, am I going to have some problems later? And you're not just planning your week, you're planning around a body that you hope will cooperate, and that changes how all your days play out. One night a few years ago, I found myself on the floor at 3 a.m. I was 68 hours into a 72-hour fast. And you know how people talk about that. 72 hours, yeah, that's where your body resets itself. They say it's like the fourth switch that goes off. I can't remember what it is. And I was focusing on a knee injury and a torn rotator cuff that was causing me a lot of pain. So there I was in my kitchen on the floor looking literally like a homicide victim. I could barely move, barely speak, and the whole room felt like it was spinning and I felt like throwing up. And I remember thinking, this is absolutely ridiculous. This cannot be the thing that's supposed to be helping me. But intermittent fasting was the trend at the time. And honestly, it still is. And women were talking about it like it was the answer. They were having success. They felt amazing. And so I thought, well, this should work for me too, except it didn't. And I was kind of upset about it. But what I eventually learned is that my body type doesn't handle intermittent fasting very well at all. Long term, it depletes me. It slows my digestion down. It adds to my brain fog. It makes that scattered ADHD style thinking worse, not better. And I'd been trying it for 6 months. So the issue wasn't that I needed to try harder. It was that I was using someone else's solution on a body it was never built for. And this is exactly why I built Stop Guessing Your Symptoms, because you don't need more random advice. You need a better way to look at your body and what it might be telling you. And I bet you've had that exact moment with something that you've tried, not maybe necessarily fasting, but some version of this worked for her. So why isn't it working for me? And that right there is the first missing piece. You've never been taught how your body is built. You've been taught what's trending. You've been taught what your favorite podcast swears by. You've been taught what worked for your best friend who couldn't stop talking about it. But nobody ever sat you down and said, hey, here's how your body works. And then there's the second piece. Even when you know your baseline, your body type, your body can still drift into a pattern of imbalance. And food affects that, your routine affects it, and your lifestyle affects it. There's so much more that affects it. So when life gets busier or more stressful, or you're doing things that you normally wouldn't do, your body starts showing it. And that's when you start saying things like, well, I don't know why my body is doing this. But the better question to ask yourself is, what pattern has my body been showing me that I haven't known how to read yet? And I guess the best way that I can explain this is think about the difference between climate and weather. Climate is what a place is always like. If you live on the West Coast, it's wet and kind of damp and humid. If you live in the desert, it's dry. If you live on the prairies, it's cold in the winter and hot in the summer. That doesn't change. It's just how that part of the world is built. But weather is what's happening today. And even though the climate doesn't change, the weather can do just about anything, as we all know. It can rain in the desert. It can be warm in January in the prairies. The coast can go 2 weeks without a drop, or it can snow. And if you only knew the climate, you'd never know what to wear today. But if you only knew the weather, you'd have no idea what to expect next month. So you need both. And your body works the same way. Your body type is the climate. It's how you're built, and it doesn't change. It's what you're born with. And your pattern is the weather. It's what's happening right now, and it shifts. And sometimes that pattern can stay consistent for 2 weeks or a couple days. But if you only know one of those pieces, you're going to keep getting caught off guard. Now, when you can read your body, you stop feeling like you're at the mercy of it. You're not stuck reacting to symptoms that seem random, and you're not constantly trying to figure out why your body is doing what it's doing. You start to see cause and effect. You notice, hey, that meal didn't feel so good for me, and this is what happens when I eat too late, or this is what my body tends to do when I get off my routine. And oh yeah, this is what happens when I just keep going like the Energizer Bunny and eventually crash. And that changes everything, because now you have something to work with. And you know what us ladies love? That's right. Give us context, details, clues, information, something to work with. And suddenly we feel like we can conquer and save the world. And that's what this gives you. It shows you the two pieces that matter, your body type and your current pattern of imbalance. And you may not know yours fully yet, but because you're listening to this episode, you now know what's been missing. And that changes the way you make sense of your symptoms. So even when something does come up, it doesn't throw you for a loop in the same way. You're not blindsided. You can decide what to do with that information. Like, for example, you might decide that fruit after supper is going to be worth the bloating. fine. But that's very different from feeling like your body came out of left side and having no idea why the bloating happened in the first place. That is what body literacy gives you. It gives you a way to understand what your body is showing you so you can decide what to do next. And when you understand those two pieces, your body type and the pattern your body is in, you stop treating every symptom like it is some separate mystery. You stop chasing one symptom, then another, trying to figure each one out on its own. And you stop using solutions or fixes that worked for somebody else on Instagram, wondering why they're not working for you. And you stop treating your body like the one thing in your life that always feels unpredictable, because now you have a way to understand what your body is showing you. You start seeing patterns instead of isolated problems, and that changes the relationship. Your body starts to feel like something that you can understand, work with, and dare I say, trust. That is a very different experience from guessing, and it is a very different way to live. So if this episode helped you realize why your symptoms have felt so confusing and why the usual advice has only been giving you pieces instead of the full picture, get on the early access list for Stop Guessing Your Symptoms. This is where you start learning the two pieces that make your body make more sense, your body type and the pattern your symptoms might be pointing to. It's a short, self-paced video training, and it's opening in just a few weeks. You can join the early access list at tashamiller.co/Stop Guessing Your Symptoms. I hope this helped you to have a better understanding, because once you have the right lens, your body starts making a whole lot more sense and makes your life so much easier and more simple. I will see you back here next Wednesday. Thank you for spending time with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, tap follow and leave a 5-star review down below. I read every single one, and it helps more women find this podcast. If you want to keep the conversation going, head to tashamiller.co for resources, offers, and all the ways to connect with me.